Welcome. Good morning. Happy Wednesday. Another Wednesday morning miracle, spiritual, financial freedom. Give a couple minutes for people to jump on. And while we wait, let's see. For anybody that is watching, this is the book that we work with. Most of the things that I do in life are inspired by A Course in Miracles, my actions, the way that I interact with people, the reasons why I do a lot of things. A lot of teachings from A Course in Miracles that I get to practice in my relationships, not just at home, but also out there. I do multifamily syndication, I do real estate, teach financial freedom, financial education, financial literacy. And without the course, I don't know, I might lose my way here and there. I know that before I started reading and before I was the student, before I really became a student of A Course in Miracles, there was a lot of selfish motivations. And not that it's a bad thing, because the Course also says that the teacher of God and the miracle minded are generous for selfish reasons. Because we know that giving and receiving happens at the same time. And to have anything, it is to give it away. Now that's not an idea that the ego really likes. The ego likes that if we give it away, we don't have it anymore. And the ego is very tricky. The ego will use all the different forms of things in this world, in this 3D world. If you think about money, the way that we give money away, if we give it away, we have less. But kind of, do we really? On the physical realm, on that level, yes. When we give something away, it does seem like we have less of it. So the ego starts to play with that. The ego tells us that love operates the same way, guilt operates the same way, so that if we have guilt, we give it away. If we give love away, we need more love in return. So as we live that type of thinking, we continue to create conflict in all of our relationships. Because if you think about all the relationships that we have, whether it be uh, whether it be with our partners or people, when we first meet them, it's always like we'll do whatever we can to be the best version of ourselves. And as time goes by, we start to take things for granted. We start to get tired of things because it doesn't give us what we thought, or what was given, or what gave to us in the beginning. It doesn't give us that excitement anymore. So um, let me see. I'm just waiting for a couple more people to hop on. Good morning. Welcome, welcome. Okay, so people tuning in live anywhere, good morning. Just me, myself, and I in my clubhouse room. And then we got a couple people in Zoom. Good morning, Damaris. It's been a long time. Welcome back.
Thank you. Good morning to everyone.
Good morning. So I've changed up the calls just a little bit. I feel that my message now could be shared with more people. A lot of people on social media, you guys have seen me, been posting a lot. I've been created a new marketing agency with a 16-year-old kid. And yeah, I've been getting a lot of messages, lots of DMs from the things that I share. But I don't want to only be known as this real estate guy. I want to be known, or I don't want that to be my only message. Because behind all of it, behind the reason why I do everything is God, is my ministry work of extending and sharing love. So I want to always be an invitation to spiritual work. And A Course in Miracles is a spiritual work. It's a spiritual work. It's a self-spiritual work that is actually, in my opinion, best done in group settings. Because it's hard. It's hard to read. It's hard to read something and that every paragraph it challenges our core being. So the course has, it took me, I had to go to satsangs, I had to go to A Course in Miracles um classes and workshops. I took lots of courses online. I listen to it all the time. I read it. This is my like fifth time going through the book. Actually, the sixth time going through the book. I was listening back to last year's call at this time. We were in chapter 18. So now we're back in chapter 8. And there's no rush. It's we all go at our pace and we're all going home. To God, there is no time. Time is something that's created of the ego. And most of our problems and most of our fears come from the fear that comes with time and space, that we don't have enough time. We're on chapter 8 today, chapter 8, section 2, the difference between imprisonment and freedom. So we'll talk about that today. What do I want to share? Let's see. Let's begin with a quick prayer for ourselves and to set the intention for this call. And for anybody that's watching this, reading parts of it, or attending any of the rooms, if you're seeing the replay of this, welcome to you too. Thank you for joining us this morning. So take a couple breaths in. Dear God, thank you for this morning. Thank you for the people watching this. Thank you for the people joining live, watching the replay. And on this call, reveal to us our open hearts, our open minds. Reveal to us any blockages to the awareness of who we are and who we've always been. Give us courage and strength to face the ego. Give us clarity this morning. Clarity to listen. Clarity to recognize this moment, that we are not here by accident. Give us clarity in our life, our relationships, our jobs. Help me choose peace today. Help my words reach the people that need to hear it. And we know and we trust. Give us strength. Help us recognize the difference between freedom and imprisonment, between pain and joy, because oftentimes we confuse that. Give us the strength to surrender and accept gracefully what is. Help us recognize any parts of our minds that is operating in scarcity and fear. Guide my mind to a gentler, peaceful, more peaceful place. And my invitation is to watch your thoughts, watch your thinking, and see if there's any places where there's judgments, where the ego's like, nope, I don't want to hear this. Just check it out. No judgments on that either when it happens. Our inability to quiet our minds actually is one of our biggest problems. There's always something going on in there, some story. So let's see if we can quiet our minds and listen through our spiritual ears. Listen through a love filter, an acceptance filter. Allowing whatever is shared on this call today to touch ourselves deeply, to bring our minds to a more peaceful place. And from this space, we offer up a prayer for all beings today to be happy. Offer up a prayer for all beings to recognize their own light and have the courage to shine it. And that's you. You that's listening to this. Thank you. Thank you for receiving. Thank you for this space. So I like to open up today's call with any shares from anybody that's on any of the platforms. You can type it, you can unmute yourself, you can share. Because lately I've recognized that I've just been doing like preaching. So I want to know what things you guys have to share. I want to know what questions people have when it comes to financial freedom, spiritual freedom, A Course in Miracles. Anything robbing you of your peace? And if not, that's cool.
Good morning, Alex. This is Damaris.
Good morning.
So it's been a minute. I've been struggling this year. In March, my mom was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, and I was dealing with that for a while. She passed away at the end of May, and I got to see her 3 times before she passed away. She's out of state, and I don't feel like I'm depressed. Like, I feel like I'm at peace. Like, I accepted it, but I've been in a funk all summer. I haven't quite felt like myself. I feel like, I don't know, I'm not like my joyful, happy-go-lucky self, and I've been, meaning to hop on this call. So yeah, that's where I'm at right now. I'm just like in a funk, and I've just been trying to snap out of it, and just looking for that peace and that joy and that calm, and just getting back into the routine of school and work after the summer. So yeah, I thought, let me hop on this call. They always make me feel better, and so here I am.
Yeah, it's good share. Thank you for sharing that. And I always love seeing you on the calls. I really feel like you create you make a difference for yourself when you're here. Like you come on the call sharing one thing, and then you leave the call, feeling a different way. And it does make it makes my ego feel better a little bit. So, because a lot of times I'm on these calls and it's kind of just me talking to myself, and I can do that. I tend to be able to talk, and if nobody's talking, I can just keep talking forever. But, I think the chapter and the section that we're on today is going to really support you. Um, Now, the Course says that all of our problems come from our disconnection to Source. You know, there will be, we look to things and to people and to form of this world for our happiness. So we develop special relationships to everything. And what I mean by special relationships to everything is we put these things on an altar and we develop a relationship with it where it is what gives me my source of happiness, or it is the source of my sadness. We look towards the things that are going on in our life that's dictating the way that we feel. Um, and really that disconnection to the true source, because there's it's all just different forms of the same thing. A lot of people go through what you're going through, but in a different form. It's this restlessness, it's this unease, it's this, what am I doing, lack of purpose, lack of direction, lack of passion. And it's because we keep looking towards things in this world for our happiness and joy. We look towards our relationships for, we look towards our work, our job. We look towards all these things for our joy. And that's not where it is. How many times do we look to those things and it's going to fail us? It actually causes us more pain, and we still keep looking for more of the same thing. Right? So really, even when I do real estate, even when I have sales calls, and I always have to remind myself that this person is not the source of my income. It's not the source of my happiness, not the source of my peace. I'm here to serve and to love up on people. Even in the sales call, even in the call where, I need to close this deal to earn some money or whatever it is, it's to recognize that in the back of our mind that that's not the source. Because when you think something, you have a special relationship towards something, and you think that it is the source of your financial freedom, of your spiritual freedom, of your pain, of your joy, wherever you put the blame, or you give power to those things, you become powerless to it. You become a victim to it. And we seem to just project all these things out into this world, and then we become a victim to all of them. And it's to the Course says this is the insanity in our mind. We give power to things like this thing. I can say, my cell phone, my, even this book, even the Course in Miracles, I can say that this is what brings me peace. This is what brings me joy, but it does not. It's not the source of it. So then we have to ask ourselves, where is the source? Who is the source? Where would we get, where's the source of our joy and our happiness and financial freedom? And it's in love. Love is the common denominator, and we can, the Course says it's in God. But we can replace, if you're not comfortable if you're watching this and you're like, oh no, I don't want to say God, I want to say whatever. Say all of those things. They're all symbols pointing to something else. Right? I mean, we're two folds out from that already. But all of our pain and our suffering comes from our disconnection to the recognition of what's our source. And the source is love. And in order for love to grow, we have to share love. We have to share love. We have to extend love. So in the sales call, I can say that I am here just to bring more love into this space. That's my main work. If that's your main work, then you can bring that to everything that you do. You can bring that to everyone that you meet. And many calls that I go on, and the intention, people think we're going to talk about investments and real estate. We don't even talk about it. We end up talking about kids. We end up talking about relationships. We just, because I sit there and I'm in the back of my mind, if I think I need to close this deal, then on some level I will be playing a manipulation game. Like, I will be playing a manipulation game, which is I need to gain. And there's only two levels of thinking. It's either we both gain or we both lose. There is no one gain, one lose. That's something of this world. That's something of here. And it's part of the adding on to us being really confused. There's a spiritual side of us. We know there's something bigger than just this body. We know there's something bigger going on than just this world. But we keep going back to this world to get evidence, to reinforce whatever traumas or stories we have in our mind. The Course says that our childhood didn't even happen the way that we thought. And it's true. I shared on Sunday, I was listening to a podcast or listening to a book from Marianne Williamson, and she began her journey trying to heal her relationship to the idea of what her parents were. She always thought there was some problems, that they never got along, and because she only recognized the fights that happened. Kids are so easily impressionable. And she saw some arguments, she saw some fights, she saw whatever she saw. That's what she thought was happening in the relationship. And it wasn't until she became a true student of the Course and wanted and decided to do the healing work to let that go. And she found letters from her dad to her mom. Letters that she didn't completely change what she thought that relationship was. So for us, whatever relationship we have to things and how it's the source of our happiness or not, we have to recognize that it may not be the way we thought it was. Or it may not even be the way that we think it is right now. And it takes a lot of practice. It takes a lot of stillness in the mind, listening to the voice. The Course says that the ego is loud. The ego is loud everywhere. So this is why we have this attention deficit or overstimulation of our minds, because the ego is loud. The ego is always seeking everywhere for the next moment of pleasure. See, before we thought pleasure, we have temporary pleasure. Now it's like we got to seek something to give us pleasure every second, every second, every second. Because after that second is over, it's gone. The pleasure's gone. But unconsciously, we're not paying attention to the way that we're thinking. We're going straight from event to reaction. There is no more of breaking down the story, the way that we think. Why do I think the way I'm thinking? There's no more stillness and quietness. There's no time to listen to that. The ego is loud. The ego is everywhere. The ego makes you can't sit still. The ego makes you scroll through social media super quick. And then the slowing down, the silencing your mind, hearing the voice because the ego is loud, the ego is unclear. It's confusing, contradicting itself at every point. Now, when we can quiet down and calm down and listen to spirit or listen to this voice that's always guiding us, it's still, it's quiet, but it's very clear. And I like to think that that is the way the world and the universe operates. It operates in this calmness, ever expanding, and we're just running around being all crazy. It's like we're in a symphony or we're in an opera, and it's beautiful, soft, calm music being played, and we got headphones on, just bumping something super loud, something crazy. And we can't hear and we can't see what's actually going on in the world, and we experience opera based on the headphones that we have on. And I don't even know why I'm saying opera. I've never even been to opera. But I just imagine like a peaceful symphony that's happening. It's very beautiful. And then I got headphones on listening to some super hard rock or or gangster rap or whatever. And then I experience that through the headphones I got on. That's the way that we walk around in this world. Yeah, it's like actually, you know what? It is like silent disco. I like that. I like that analogy better. The world is just silent. Everything's good. Everything's fine. And then you got your headphones on. You're dancing. All of us are doing that, but that's the what you're experiencing. I'm not taking away from what you experience with the headphones on, but that isn't really what's going on in the world. You see, you can still experience and have fun, but that's not the truth of what's happening. See, if you can have the headphones on and you're happy and you're joyful, you're not attached to the way things are, and you're just like in this moment, I'm enjoying it. That's connection to what is actually happening, the perfection of everything. Your happiness and your peace is the prerequisite to get to that calm state, the eternal peace, the peace of God, the peace of heaven that the Course points us to. But we have to recognize that everything that's going on in the headphones, whether it's making you align to the energy of the world or it's making you feel crazy, they are both illusions. They're not real. They're not really what's going on. So we have to recognize the Course is pointing to us, this is the illusion. As soon as you turn the volume down, you start to be with the universal energy. So all the depression, all the anxiety, all the funk that we're in, it's because we're not aligned to the frequency of love. And we got to quiet our minds. We have to quiet our minds, calm ourselves, and just relax into this moment that everything is perfect. When we can see the perfection of this moment, our life changes in that instant. The perfection that everything is taking care of itself. I don't have to do anything really. I need do nothing. With or without my interference, everything is still going in the same direction. It's like we're in the middle of a river. We can just hang out and let the river take us, or we can struggle and still go to the same place because the current is just that strong. And so for us, we gotta calm and quiet ourselves. We operate, and even if we think we're sometimes calm, just pay attention to your day. How much anxiety is in your day, running from one place to another, snapping at people, like honking at people, rushing from one place to another place. This is all part of everything that you've made up about what's important. You're sitting in the silent disco and you think that your headphones and what's going on in your headphones is what's going on in the world. It's not. So let's turn down the sounds, turn down all the noise so that we may, see what's actually going on. We may experience moments of the silence and the stillness. Because like I was sharing on Sunday, if your role in this world, if the world depended on your role and your function in this world, then yes, your anxiety and all of the stuff that you have is justifiable. If the fate of the world rests on your shoulders, then yeah, I guess you can be depressed and anxious and all of that because it's reasonable, but it doesn't. None of it even matters. It doesn't depend on you at all. Planet, the earth will continue to spin no matter what you do. There's an intelligence out there that will continue to work regardless of what you do. You can do anything. Anything you can think of in your life, you can do, and it will not affect the direction that God is taking the world, that the divine intervention, the divine energy is moving. You cannot stop it. You can only surrender and accept it so that you may be at peace. You can be at peace. So, yeah, that was a very, very long response to your question. I hope that, I don't know, that it did support in some level. I feel like it supported me, definitely. Sitting here. Uh-huh.
Yes, the stuff, right? Like it, but sometimes you just need to like hear it again.
Yeah.
I've tried to like just do nothing, like be at peace, but I still haven't felt like myself.
Mhm. It's a constant practice because the world is so tempting. The world tempts us with things and distractions and shiny objects all day. So, if we got 24 hours in the day, how much of that time is dedicated to remembering? And no, yeah, like Harry says, is no judgments on yourself for not doing it, for doing it. You're not better for doing it. You're not worse for not doing it. The practice is what I mean. But, practicing to be at peace. We only need a couple moments of that every day as a reminder. That's why I wake up every morning. I get up, I'm like, okay, I just had these dreams, and Love laughs at me all the time because she's asleep and I wake up half asleep and I start talking about my dream. Like, I'm like, this morning, I think, wait, I can't remember. I woke up. I'm like, man, this guy is like so hard to work with. I'm having a one-on-one coaching session with him, and he's talking about girls and this and that, and that they're the, I can't remember what, but it was super stupid. And I was like, I was having no patience with this guy. And how funny is it that even in my dreams, I'm doing what I'm doing while I'm awake, except with problems. With like me losing my patience and then shaming myself in my dream about not having patience working with somebody. That's what I'm dreaming. And so it's just funny. We have funny moments in the morning because of that. Because she's still half asleep, and so she's not even really listening to what I'm saying. She's mixing it all up into her own dreams, and we have a funny conversation later on. Often, she's like, "Wait, did you say these things, or did I dream it?" I'm like, "I don't even know. I can't even remember what the dream was." But that's our everyday. Every moment is like that. It's just full of just dreams. We're dreaming even in this like supposedly like waking state. We're filtering through dream lenses, basically. There's nothing that's actually happening in the world that we're seeing. We're just kind of seeing it through the filter of our lives, the life that we lived up to this point. Are we ever not dreaming? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. See, the course also said the trying to figure out a question like that, trying to understand a question like that also disturbs our peace. Go ahead, Harry. Ask your question.
The reason why I asked this question is because, when I remember I'm doing this work, right, and other times I'm running away and extending the amount of time until I return fully, right, and sometimes when I'm doing the work, I'll just sit there and like I'm watching my physical vision change, the way that I take in colors, the way that I take in shapes, and my whole perspective is changing because I just had a breakthrough. And it's all happening before me, and I'm like, man, what is going on? It's like the person who I thought that I was, this idea is all changing, and it's happening. It's happening each step. Sometimes more than others, it feels like. And so that's why I wonder during these moments of like change, of clarity, of if it's like not removing, like sometimes people call it a piece of the veil, or maybe it's like less dreaming is what I was wondering. Not that it's like super important or anything.
Well, the physical world follows our mind, follows what we believe is real. We start to see, we literally see, we have selective seeing and selective hearing. Because what we make, so this is the conversation of projection makes perception. We make it real in our minds first. So maybe what you're going through is, okay, I'm choosing to see something beyond my body. I want to be in this peaceful state. I want to be in meditative state. I want to be in this moment. I want to be present. So you could be thinking that, and then you're going to go and collect the evidence in the world and perceive it back to reinforce your thinking. So that works not only for that, but also for, like, I'm a victim to something in the world, or the government is bad, or this person is bad. If we make these thoughts, these beliefs, these ideas real in our mind, we will project it into the world. We will perceive it back, but we're not perceiving it back because it's actually there. It's just our selective mind. This is the ego mind. Our minds work in this way, is like, we believe something, and this is how manifestation actually works too. We believe in something, we see it so clearly that that's all we will seek. Your manifestation is not about calling forth something that didn't exist. It already existed. You're calling forth your mind to what already existed. What reality already existed, but the reality is really just your mind to it.
That was a Morpheus speech right there.
I gotta remember that. Where am I? This is at 37-minute mark. Okay, so yeah, I mean, I've never actually talked about manifestation in that way. So thank you for your share, because that brought that on, and so amazing. Thank you for that. I gotta write that down probably. Shoot. But
I'll send it back to you.
okay, cool. Appreciate that. Yeah, and so that is the way that we work. Projection makes perception. We call these things forth. It already belonged to us. Abundance is already ours. Love is already ours. We've just been blocking it with our own shit all day. Our own stories of our past. So in order to heal, the Course says your tool is forgiveness. Forgiveness is to let go of before. Your forgiveness is to give as before. Before what? Before you made up all the shit of what you thought happened. That's what. So forgiveness, we got to forgive our past, forgive everything, with the recognition and the knowing that what I thought actually happened didn't really happen. It's a version of what happened, but it didn't really happen that way. I don't know how it happened. I don't even need to know how it happened. But as I release that image and that story, this moment is possible. There's new possibilities in this moment. See, we went out to the desert yesterday to ride like these like cool, I don't know, rolling cage cars and shoot machine guns and stuff. It was pretty fun. But the drive there, we were talking to the driver, and the driver's like, I'm always this guy that's $1 short or a penny short, or all the limiting beliefs. We all got them, but he's got a set of them. And it comes from him having seller's remorse. he like tried buying real estate, then the market was turning, then he sold it super quick, and then it went up more. The person that bought it held it for 2 more months or whatever and made like $50,000, and he's just like, man, I'm always behind. That story, that's not true. See, that story is a story that he created, which is stopping him in this moment of doing things. He's like, man, after all these years, I finally found a savings account that is giving me like 1.6% interest or something. And I'm like, that's what you're happy with now? You've brought yourself to a point that, inflation 7%. So you got 1.5% increase in your money. So you're losing 5.5%, and that's what he's happy with now. But it's because of all the stories that he's had that he's like, I'm gonna mess it up. I'm gonna miss the market. I'm trying to time the market. It's gonna come down more. Who knows if it's gonna come down more? This is why I teach, don't be in that state. There is no such thing actually as a down market. There's a perceived down market. Like, if you think about it, because of time, right? We get stuck in time. If you look at a chart, okay, a chart that spans out maybe every year at a time. Okay, you see little divots that go down, but overall the chart just looks up, goes straight up. If you stand 6 feet away, you can't even recognize any part of it going down. You would just say, hey, it was an up market every day. I mean, it was an up market every year. I'm gonna get to you in 1 second, Galea. Now, same thing with the stock market. We determine based on days, like based on, was today a green day or a red day? Like, we have cutoff time, right? But throughout the day, it went up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. But overall, if it was up, then okay, it's an up day. Why don't we take the chart and span the time out into eternity? We don't even need to do that. Let's span it out into 5-year sections. Okay, every time that we stopped and we saw and we looked and we marked it down, if the market was up or down, it's on a 5-year mark. We will literally see that the market is just going up in any market. I bet you if you look at Bitcoin, if you look at cryptos and you look at it in that way, 10-year span. Okay, there are times that it looks like it's going down, but we're not closing the day out until the 10-year mark. And then once the 10-year mark hits, boom, it's just one straight line that goes up. Okay, because we're not worried about the ups, down in between. That's how the universe works. The universe works always in expansion. Because of time and scarcity principle that we operate from, we have this, oh my God, it's going down. Oh my God, let me time it. Let me time it in between. Don't worry about timing it. If the numbers work, buy it up, down, market, whatever. 10 years down the road, it's going to be up. You know why it's going to be up no matter what? Because of inflation. The money is worth less. So whatever you buy that's an asset is always going to be up. This is no different than finding peace. We're always going back to heaven. We're all going. I don't need to worry about what to do to you and what to say to you. You need to learn this. You need to learn that. None of that even matters because eternity is the time. And we are all going home. The market is always going up. Now, it can only not go up if you broke it down into shorter time periods. But why are we looking at shorter time periods? Why are we locking ourselves into time even more? Okay, so if, imagine just, okay, I'm going to go into an investment, but okay, I know it's going to go up. And that's it. You have an investment, it's going up. It's going to reward me. Think about the peace that you have. Now, if I'm worried about every day, if it goes up or down, every day I'm going to look at it. Did it go up? Did it go up? Did it go down? I'm just creating stress in my life. This is actually the reason why, of all the things, investment vehicles, I choose real estate. Because crypto is way too fast. It forces me to look at the app like 8,000 times a day. What am I even doing? Stocks, you look a little bit less, but you still open your thing and look at it every day. And some people are like, oh, I just open it and I leave, or I just put it in there and I leave it. But nah, because you'll look at it multiple times in a week probably, or multiple times in a month, multiple times in a year. It's all just relative to time. But if I just had full trust, this is where peace of mind comes from. And I do the same thing about my life. See, everything's all related. How we do something can show us how we do everything else and can heal everything else. If we heal from one, if we were able to give one of our problems over to the Holy Spirit, the process is the same across the board. And we can heal everything. So find the one thing in your day that is robbing you of your peace. Give that over to God. Truly give it over. And just see how easy all the other things becomes throughout the day to give over to God. This morning, have a prayer for yourself that I am here to just bless people today. That's it. I'm doing nothing, but I'm just going to be blessing people all day. And then see how your day goes. I'm not worried about what's mine, what's theirs. Am I going to be able to pay the bills? I mean, it is August 31st. Rent is due. This is the time for majority of the people to start feeling panicky too, or feeling a little more scarce or tighten up. Rent's due, bills are due. Did I save enough money from last month to be able to pay my bills? All the things come distracting us. But today, just say, I'm just here to bless everybody. And see what blessings return back to you today. What lessons come to you today? Okay, Galileo, sorry.
No worries. While you was giving to me, I was running. So that's a little bit strange. First of all, I want to say that as always, I'm very happy to be back and see all your beautiful faces and how it's been so much fun in this space for all of us. Damaris, I'm very happy to see you. Thank you for the share. It really takes, courage and vulnerability to share things like that. Lately, I've had a lot of friends who lost their parents, and I wish they could speak up for themselves and get some healing in a group like that, showered with love. So my heart goes to you today, and may your mom travel with the light, and rest in peace. I think for them it's now easier than for us, fighting our demons every day. They don't have to fight anymore. Hopefully they just enjoy over there. I'm watching us city people going through the same circles over and over again every day. So there's that. And I just want to say, I had so many things, in the beginning, Alex, when you said, what do you guys have to share? I'm like, oh, I'm going to say this situation and this situation. And more you speak, I'm like, dude, do I really have something to say? Or should I just shut up and listen? Because it's like, every time I come to this post, I realize that all my worries or all my problems, as I feel they are, it's really nothing. And it is for nothing. It's just as the world catching us in a drift and the ego trying to run our behavior, my behavior. It's just that. And I gotta be more focused on coming on this course to remember those things, because they're really the only truth. That is, and how fast there's million reasons, you Alex saying when you don't need to care about, when you need to take care about paying the rent and all of that. I've had a lot of my questions covered lately, and so then I don't have to stress about it. But the thing is, I always find something to stress about. How incredible is that? And putting them on and thinking one more time, to just see that that's not what I'm here for, really. And as you speak, I'm getting a lot of clarity about what I want to do because lately I was thinking to come back into coaching and working with women. And it's just like the moment that I come down and I just allow my inner silence instead of like inner chatter, just to not stop talk some stuff. The clarity comes right there, like in a second, and it's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
It's incredible and super powerful. Like the moment you remember the truth, all the doors, it's just like even mentally, or I don't know yet physically, but I'm pretty sure it's gonna follow. Just open up for me. It's incredible. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Thank you again for your non-stop investing into my life. That's the way I feel. I always felt like you're my older brother, some sort of something like that. So I feel your support everywhere I go, even if I don't come to the calls or don't do trainings or don't buy properties together with you yet. This show your support, and it means a lot to me. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. It's so often, I make a lot of money and I spend a lot of money. And I have, and people were in this world, we all kind of experience the same. If you make $1 million a year, you could still be living paycheck to paycheck. It's not a matter of the form or the amount, but everybody will have stress. You said, you know, your ego just comes up with stuff to stress about and and to have anxiety about just randomly, just random shit all the time. So that is happening with everybody. And it seems like a lot of times, like if I'm having some financial struggles, all of a sudden money comes into my life and I'm like, yes, now all the struggle's gone and we feel a sense of relief. But it's actually not the money itself that did that. You've brought yourself to a place to be able to receive that, to open for that. Now, if you're not really ready to receive that and you're not really in that space and it comes to you and you manifested it, it will leave you. It will fall. It will disappear. You can make $1 million and then you'll lose it because you weren't ready for that. And it's the same for, you can say your coaching program. I mean, we have resistances to all these things. This is why actually this book, um, Stephen Pressfield, he wrote The War of Art, and then also this book, Turning Pro. It's all about the resistances that we have in our life. We resist the greatness that's available to us. We resist the creativity that wants to come forth, that wants to come through us. We resist love from people. I mean, I was watching what was I watching? I was watching Game of Thrones, and somebody gave this really great gift to someone, and they're like, "No, I can't take it. I can't take it." And then the guy's like, "Please, this is the last good thing I have in this world, and I just want you to have it." And she's finally like, "Okay, fine, I'll take it." But even with reluctance, so it's like we can't accept. We don't allow ourselves to accept good things to come to us. It's like on some level, there's a illness in us that's like we're not deserving. We're not deserving of being in front of 1,000 people. We're not deserving of financial freedom. We're not deserving of the forgiveness of my mother or my father, or they don't deserve it. It's all the same thing. Our own pains, we just project it out and then we perceive it back and we're like, what happened? It wasn't me, it's them. The ego's like, oh, you're exempt. Don't worry. It's them. And then we just live our whole life just blaming things left and right for our happiness and for our sadness. And we wonder why we have depression because we have no idea what it is that we really want. We think what we really want is to just order shit from Amazon all day. Just having gifts and presents, just opening stuff, material things all day, every day. Go ahead, Natalia.
Hi, good morning. I just wanted to share, as you were speaking, I remembered one of the experiences that I recently. I was buying coffee at a coffee shop, and there was this man behind me, and he was going to order his, and it happened to be a place where they were only taking credit cards. So he asked, he's like, "Oh, I have cash." So I overheard him not being able to get the coffee. So I was like, "Oh, I'll go ahead and get it for you. I'll pay it forward." And so then you can. He's like, "Oh, no, I could never." And I was shocked. I was like, "Oh, okay. I mean, if you can." But, I was like, a part of it was like, "Oh," and I had just been. It was perfect. I had just been listening to what you recommended, Marianne Williamson, and she was speaking into that. It's something along the lines of like when we give, and we're giving to the other person, but it's also like we receive so much from it. So when we are not, when we don't accept, I don't know if she didn't use those words, but like like this man's like, no, it's like you're blocking or not allowing the other person to receive what they were going to receive in the giving you this thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like a big lesson for me in listening to that, because how many times I myself, "Oh no," or "Thank you, I got it," and
Mm-hmm.
it was interesting to experiencing on the other end.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just wanted to share that.
See, that's the thing. The thing is, like, it takes a lot for somebody to finally be like, you know what? I just want to give this to you. I want to gift it to you. Especially if how much would it take, and how many times in your life, or do you think you're gonna just write a check for $100,000 and give it to somebody? Just here, take it. It's a whole life worth of, like, okay, I'm ready to give, and I give it, and the other person's, and you're like, I picked the perfect person to give it to. I love their work, I believe in it, and you give it to them, and they're like, no, I can't accept it. Like, you not being able to receive a gift that's given to you only makes both sides forget who they are and forget their purpose. So that's what Marion Williamson shared. Somebody wrote her a big check and she couldn't accept it. And then she realized later on that she took something from this person and took something from herself. That a great deal was learned in that moment. I was about to say a great deal was lost in that moment, but a great deal was learned in that moment. So it's very powerful when, and I'm in the same place too. A lot of times people give and I'm like, people want to help and serve. I'm like, no, I'm good. I got this. I'm not a very good receiver either. So if anything, I mean, maybe today, let's all just pay attention to our ability to receive. Where are we not willing to receive? Not receiving from someone that's genuinely trying to give is really, really taking away from that moment. I mean, definitely, it's not a bad thing. Again, like I said, it doesn't matter what you do. The Earth will continue to spin and the world will continue to go on. But it's a lesson that could be taken right there. It's a moment that two brothers or sisters or two people can come together and remember that there's just one.
Yeah, and even in that moment, I was like a little bummed out, and I was like, okay, let me not label this. I was like, oh, like.
It's like, man, I just wanted to buy you a coffee, and you won't even let me buy you a coffee. It's like, yes, I get to do a good deed today, and then you're about to do it, and they're like, no, don't do it. It's like, oh shit. So we get shut down no matter what. So this is it's good learning lesson for us, because in that moment it's really just there to show you, like, okay, where do I not receive? Where can't I receive either? And it doesn't have to just be in the form of money. It's all just energies. Money's the same thing. Everything needs to be flowing, it needs to be moving. So receive and give and receive and give, knowing that no matter what, in the giving, the receiving happens. You see, if we all learned this first teaching from from the Holy Spirit to give all to all. Having and receiving, or giving and receiving, giving and having, it's all the same exact thing. As we live into that for ourselves, and as our collective minds start to live in that, then everybody's always going to be in this abundant state. Because it's not just the money that we're going to be giving back and forth. It's the way that we love, the way that we do relationships. We're not trying to pull something from each other. All right. Okay, Harry, go ahead.
Hey, I'm over here laughing, smiling from this conversation. It's like it's bringing up a lot of. It's funny how I even label that at the beginning of this path, right? What is the beginning of this path? That's actually really funny when we say that term. But it brings me back to when I started in this work, and how impactful women have been in my life just in general. And the coffee story is what brought it up. So I've had a lot of people pleasing conversations that I've been facing and dealing with, and so the topic of receiving is just perfect right now. And I remember this woman, she had offered something to me, and I was like, no. I was like super macho about it. I'm like, no, like kind of in my mind, like, oh man, he buys the woman, whatever it was. I don't even remember what it was, but she was like, oh, you're something to the effect. The look at her face, I'll never forget it. She was like, oh, you're not going to allow me to offer this. Chocolate. That's what it was. You're not going to allow me to offer this chocolate so you can enjoy it in front of me. And the way that she had said it, I never even thought about enjoying chocolate like that. It was the first chocolate bar I had. It was so good. Like, it was just a regular Hershey bar, and it was so awesome. Just the ability that this woman had to even let me teach me to accept something for enjoying it and showing like what it did for her. She kept telling me how grateful she was to me. And I'm looking at her confused, like, what the hell is she talking about? She bought me this chocolate bar. That set on me, the entire time, and it really helped me to understand from this woman about in receiving of how I'm giving. And so even sometimes when I don't want to receive something, I'll do it because of that reason now. And I know that it's given to the other person.
Yeah, it's giving to you, it's giving to the other person. And the more practice that we have with that, the more it just becomes a natural flow, a natural thing for us to be doing. Because at first it's like, oh, it's awkward. I got to overthink it. But the more we practice, the easier it becomes. And peace is the same thing. The more we practice, the more it becomes. All right. So, okay, I like to get started on the chapter, so we at least get through one section. Yeah. So, yeah, go for it.
You said something about when people tell us something back, or like they're not accepting our love or good intention, we tend to shut down. What can you say about that from perspective of the course? Because I'm asking that because I've noticed a lot of times I'm shutting down, and I start to create my stories, in my head why people did that. So I was wondering, what can bring healing to the situations like that when I feel like I'm truly giving from my heart, or I'm saying people just shut me down?
Mm-hmm.
Again, I guess it's just because, like, how do you see that? Why do we shut down? Because we think we're smarter, I don't know.
Well, first of all, the idea or the notion of getting shut down is yours. You making up that I feel like I'm being shut down. You're attached to somebody stopping you from talking or not listening to you equates to shutting you down. That's not the truth. They're just busy in their own minds. That's why sometimes the only space that's available in the moment is silence. The silence to look and observe my own mind, where I feel like I've been attacked, I've been shut down, but nothing really happened. They're just busy in their own mind, and they're dealing with their own stuff. Okay, cool. Talk later then. But adding energy to it makes it more real for you. And then all the stories add more energy to it and it gets bigger. Oh, I got shut down. All the times in my life that I got shut down. Then it becomes this real big trauma from some event that didn't even have anything to do with you. They just were too busy and not the space to hear anything. Does not mean you're getting shut down. But because of that one event, now it triggers a whole ton of other things that has nothing to do with this moment. And then we're like, my whole life, I just been getting shut down. And then we just make it bigger and bigger. And everywhere we go, we project that idea and that belief that I get shut down. And I'm almost looking to get shut down wherever I go. Or I'm scared. Oh, am I going to get shut down? And the resistance in thinking you're going to get shut down when you share, people shut you down. And you're like, oh, shit, what happened? You happened. Your stories happened. So just change it. Like, oh, they're not in the space to listen to it. Cool. It's not a big deal at all.
Alex, I have a question. Something that I'm having trouble understanding.
Yeah.
So, if we're complete and we're all going through our journey of learning and we need to do nothing, why is there like a need? And sometimes it happens to me to give advice or, spiritual coaches talking to you and letting you know what you should be doing. Like, I'm having trouble understanding the fine line of like sharing and preaching and when we don't need to do nothing.
So if somebody's not open, there's no reason to be preaching anything to them. Like, I'm not going to force anybody to listen to what I'm saying. I'll just create a space. And if you want to join, you can join. If you want to be here for 5 minutes, you're here for 5 minutes. But I'm not forcing anybody anything. Not even in my own mind do I think people should be on this call. Okay? So that's the thing is, there's a part of us that's like, where you're at is not good enough. Okay? So I need to tell you where you should be. Because based on our own experience, how we got through something, we think it's going to work for them. This is the insanity of the ego. It's not the truth. They might need completely something else. They might need an actual kick in the butt. They might need to just sit there and do nothing themselves, and they'll come to this self-actualization themselves. Maybe a bird or a tree is going to be their teacher, not you. So if someone comes to you and asks, then sure, share your experience, but know that even your experience is just one-sided perspective. I don't hold the truth for you. But you know who does? The Holy Spirit holds the truth for you. There's a part in the Course that says, everywhere that you reject love, okay, the Holy Spirit holds it for you and waits for you to return to take it. So you don't have to worry. Anytime that you mess up, anytime that you fall and you slip and you forget or you act unkindly towards somebody, the Holy Spirit's always there waiting for you. But you just have to have the willingness, a little bit of willingness to be able to give it over to Spirit. And that's all that's required of you. But we're like, no, let me hold on to all the stuff that happened. Let me continue to make things up about it. Let me make it bigger so I can try to make sense of it. I'm not going to make sense of anything. You created the insanity. There's no solution that you're going to create that's going to fix the insanity that you made because you believe it to be true. If you didn't believe it to be true, then you would be healed already. But because you made some trauma up, and I'm not saying like if you got attacked and you shouldn't have trauma. Yeah, there's a little bit more work to do there because the body is really something hard for us to let go. But that was so good. I don't even remember what I said. What marker was it? Where were we at? 108. So we were 37, 108. I gotta re-listen to these parts. 37, 108. Where was I? Okay. So now that thought's gone, new thought, new moments. Chapter 8, the journey back. Did that support you, Celia?
Yes.
We don't even perceive our own best interest. So let's not go and try and perceive other people's best interests. Let's just figure out how we can find peace from moment to moment for ourselves.
But if they're open to hear and listen and they're seeking for your advice, you give them grace.
They're seeking for your perspective. Let's look at it that way first. So my advice is not the truth, but it's a perspective. So even my come from will change when I realize that what I'm sharing with you is not the truth for you. So here's my perspective. Here you go. Take it or leave it. I have zero attachments to it because you don't need it and I don't need it. It's a perspective. If it works for me in this moment, cool. I'll hang on to it for a little, but I don't need to be attached to it. And to call it a perspective helps you distinguish it a little bit more from what the truth really is. From your own self seeking the truth. Because the ego attaches to things that we think are good, like, oh, now that's real. We make it good, and then we're like, that's real. And if we take that's real, then also the bad that comes with it, we're also making it real. See, the ego is super slick and super smart-ish. Now, maybe not smart, but manipulative.
That helps.
Okay, cool. All right. So, chapter 8, section 2, the difference between imprisonment and freedom. We're like, we know the difference. One, you're behind the jail of some sort or a box, and the other one, you're outside. But do we actually know the difference? See, the Course says we don't. If we did, then we wouldn't choose all the pain and suffering that we get ourselves into all the time. We wouldn't be depressed. We wouldn't have anxiety. We wouldn't be conflicted. We wouldn't be fighting and snapping at people. We wouldn't be fighting with our families and friends and coworkers, all of that. So let's see if this section can teach us anything about all of that. Okay, so still not used to this mic in my face all the time, but yeah. So let's take a deep breath before we hear this part. Okay. Let's let the words sink in beyond what we can actually hear with our physical ears. Okay, let's let the words sink in, the symbols sink in. The difference between imprisonment and freedom. There is a rationale for choice. Only one teacher knows what your reality is. If learning to remove the obstacle is to that knowledge is the purpose of the curriculum, you must learn it. The ego does not know what it's trying to teach. It is trying to teach you what you are without knowing what you are. That line, the ego doesn't really know what it's trying to teach you. It's like me starting to teach about what are those? I don't know, something sciencey that's very bioengineering, or I don't know. I just threw a word out there. It sounds like something complicated, huh? Yeah, it's like me trying to teach bioengineering, and I have no idea what any of that even means. That's what the ego's doing. All right. It is expert only in confusion. Okay. So the ego is an expert in confusion. It can teach you confusion because it's teaching you shit that it doesn't even know. And we're sitting there eating it all up. That's our problem. It does not understand anything else. As a teacher, then, the ego is totally confused and totally confusing. Even if you could disregard the Holy Spirit entirely, which is impossible, you could still learn nothing from the ego because the ego knows nothing. Is there any possible reason for choosing a teacher such as this? Does a total disregard of anything it teaches make anything but sense? Is this the teacher to whom a son of God should turn to find himself? The ego has never given you a sensible answer to anything. Simply on the grounds of your own experience, with its teaching, should not this alone disqualify it from your future teacher, as your future teacher? Yet the ego has done more harm to your learning than this alone. Learning is joyful if it leads to you along your natural path and facilitates the development of what you are. When you are taught against your nature, however, you will lose by your learning because your learning will imprison you. Your will is in your nature and therefore cannot go against it. You see, this is the problem. The ego doesn't know you and doesn't know what you are and is trying to teach you what you are. Again, if I go and start teaching chemistry and physics and all this stuff, I would sound crazy. But if you all ate it up, aren't you guys all just as insane for continuously choosing me as a teacher? Just to become more and more confused about what chemistry and physics and bioengineering even is? The ego cannot teach you anything as long as your will is free, because you will not listen to it. It is not your will to be imprisoned because your will is free. That is why the ego is the denial of free will. It is never God who coerces you because he shares his will with you. Our solution to all our problems is that we must align our will to the will of God, which is always in love, always in expansion, always in acceptance, always in gratitude. Okay, but it's just love. I mean, I attached all these other words to it, but it's love itself. Just understanding what love is, which is all encompassing. See, God's will is all encompassing. Our will is separation. Or our true will is actually all encompassing too. But the ego is teaching us how to be separate. And this is why the ego is teaching us insanity. And you got to stop choosing the ego. What you think is joy is actually a prison that the ego is teaching you. To be more separate. I mean, how often do people go into their shit and they're like, I need to isolate? I mean, Love and I talk about this all the time. She's like, I need my alone time. I need to do things alone. And then when we go out and we hang out with people and we go to a big event with a bunch of people, she's like, man, I feel so alive. We got to do more of this. In relationship with people is where we thrive. We get to look, we get to connect. You know, the gratitude trainings, transformational trainings, we feel so good. Our heart's always so open in those spaces because that's where we truly belong. But the ego fights it on a daily basis. The ego will fight it and teach you something else and make you want to isolate. I can't deal with people. I listened to a workshop the other day. Somebody was like, I don't have time for relationships. I think people that are doing relationships are wasting their time. They should be focusing it all on their career. So what does that mean? Just work 16 hours, 12 hours a day. And, and as she was being challenged, she's like, that's what dogs are for. That's what our pets are for, right? For the connections. So there's a real illness that the ego is teaching us, how to be separate from everyone else. That we're always a victim to someone else. We don't take ownership of it. It's always somebody that's, oh no, now I can't deal with people anymore. Nope, no people. People drive me crazy. I mean, what kind of shit is that? It's like, let me resist what's actually happening. You know what? Air, oxygen. I don't like oxygen. It bothers me. I can't take it anymore. It's a natural flow and natural state of something that we're fighting and we're resisting. So of course we're going to find more depression. Of course we're going to go and look and find more problems with everything. There's oxygen here. There's air here. I don't want to be here. That's what's happening when you're like, too many people, I can't deal with that, I'm out. Isolation gets you nothing. Now, of course, being still is different than isolation. Okay, so some people are like, but you need the time to meditate, and yes, being still is not the same thing as isolating. Okay, isolating is a teaching of the ego that you are separate from others. But what you are doing in meditation is to connect yourself to the whole. Okay, let me continue reading before I just start spinning in circles in my chair. That is why the ego is the denial of your free will. It is never God's. Okay, I already read all of this. Okay, let me see where the lesson is that your will and God's will cannot be out of accord because they are one. See, okay. Let me just keep reading. I was about to go on again with my tangents. Jeez, never get done with this book. This is the undoing of everything the ego tries to teach. It is not then only the direction of the curriculum that must be unconflicted, but also the content. The ego tries to teach you tries to teach that you want to oppose God's will. This unnatural lesson cannot be learned, and the attempt to learn it is a violation of your own freedom, making you afraid of your will because it is free. This is the imprisonment and freedom. We are choosing imprisonment all the time rather than freedom, rather than connecting our will to the will of God, to the will of our source, to who we really are. The Holy Spirit opposes any imprisonment on the will of the Son of God, knowing that the will of the Son is the Father's. The Holy Spirit leads you steadily along the path of freedom, teaching you how to disregard or look beyond everything that will hold you back. We have said that the Holy Spirit teaches you the difference between pain and joy. That is the same as saying he teaches you the difference between imprisonment and freedom. You cannot make this distinction without him because you have taught yourself that imprisonment is freedom. You cannot make this distinction without him because you have taught yourself that imprisonment is freedom, believing them to be the same. How can you tell them apart? Can you ask part of your mind that taught you to believe that they are the same to teach you how they are different? So the part of your mind, this is the whole thing, the part of your mind that taught you that they're the same, how can you ask it to teach you that they're different? You cannot. That's why you cannot do it alone. The Holy Spirit's teaching takes only one direction and only one goal. His direction is freedom and his goal is God. Yet he cannot conceive of God without you because it is not God's will to be without you. When you have learned that your will is God's, you could no more will be without him than he could be without you. This is the freedom and this is the joy. Deny yourself this and you are denying God his kingdom because he created you for this. When I said all power and glory are yours because the kingdom is his, this is what I meant. The will of God is without limit, and all power and glory lie within it. It is boundless in strength and in love and in peace. It has no boundaries because its extension is unlimited, and it encompasses all things because it created all things. By creating all things, it made them part of itself. You are the will of God because this is how you were created. Because your creator creates only like himself, you are like him, you are part of him who is all power and glory and are therefore as unlimited as he is. See, think about this for a second. We create the same way God creates. We create our thoughts in alignment to what we believe we are. So God created us in alignment to what he thinks he is. The all encompassing, created all things like him. So we must align all of our wills to his, knowing that it's all connected, it's all just one. This is what will bring us back to peace. Now, it's not, there's multiple, oh, look at that dog. I love dogs. Okay. To what else except all power and glory can the Holy Spirit appeal to restore God's kingdom? His appeal then is merely to what the kingdom is and for its own acknowledgement of what it is. When you acknowledge this, you bring the acknowledgement automatically to everyone because you have acknowledged everyone. By your recognition, you awaken theirs, and through theirs, yours is extended. Awakening runs easily and gladly through the kingdom. In answer to the call of God, this is the natural response of every son of God to the voice of his creator, because it is the voice for his creation and for his own extension. So when you acknowledge this, you bring the acknowledgement to everyone because you have acknowledged everyone. By recognizing this, by this recognition, you awaken theirs, and through theirs, yours is extended. Wow, it's hard to say that. That's why it's about recognizing the light in everybody. By recognizing their light, your light is extended and theirs becomes awakened. You awaken other people's light, but this is the giving and receiving full circle. By recognizing their light, your light is extended and theirs is awakened. This is win-win. This is how we be in that space with each other. We awaken together. And somebody earlier said, rest in peace. Rest in peace, the Course says, is not for the dead, it's for the waking. It's for the living, not the waking. Rest in peace. There is nothing to be afraid of. If I'm afraid of my own light, it's just some nonsense that the ego taught you about it. The ego isn't even teaching you about light. It's just teaching you about some stuff that it has no idea what it's talking about. It's teaching you confusion. How do you become more confused? So that you can confuse pain and joy. You can confuse freedom with imprisonment. So any last thoughts before we close this out with a lesson? I'm going to try and go through 2 sections at a time moving forward. I always end up just doing one. But that will take us forever to get through this, which I'm also fine. Infinite patience. Any thoughts, any questions? Okay. Awesome. Let's see. I will close this out with a lesson. So take a deep breath in, let it out, let go of all the thoughts leading up to this moment. Opening your hearts, opening your minds to the words that will be said in the next couple minutes or a couple moments. The symbols, what do they mean for me today? How will I bless people with these words? Let me forget my brother's past today. Lesson 288. Actually, you know what? Another lesson just caught my eye. I'm going to do that one. Lesson 286. The hush of heaven holds my heart today. Father, how still today? How quietly do all things fall in place? This is the day that has been chosen as the time in which I come to understand the lesson that there is no need that I do anything. In you, every choice is already made. In you has every conflict been resolved. In you is everything I hope to find already given me. Your peace is mine. My heart is quiet and my mind at rest. Your love is heaven and your love is mine. The stillness of today will give you hope that we will find the way and travel far along in it to a holy, certain goal. Today we will not doubt the end which God himself has promised us. We trust in him and in our self, our capital self, not our little ego self, who is still one with him. The hush of heaven holds my heart today. Lesson 286. Amen. I hope. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you for whoever is watching still on live,
Thanks, guys.
which is nobody.
Cool day, you all.
All right.
I feel blessed today. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's go out and bless everybody.